Welcome back to the channel, for the first battle report of 2021.
He's at it again.
It's finally time to debut a new army, the frickin' Orks. This is like my second time using them, so don't get your hopes up, lads. Anyway, you know the drill, it's a look at the rosters first up. Neither of us had played a proper battle in a goddamn long time, so we just stuck to a simple frontline warfare mission, on a 44x60 table. For secondaries, we both ended up taking vital ground, engage on all fronts, and bring it down. Here's deployment. My Morkanaut is out on the left flank, along with the Dragster. In the center is the Wasbomb Blastjet, behind my two boys' units, Characters, and Grots. On the right flank are the Def Dreads and Scrapjet. Storm Boys and Mega Dread in Deep Strike. A better look at the Dark Angels. It's quite a cool and unusual list, as it contains no Primaris at all. The Tactical Marines are these awesome Mark III armor models, and there's some Forge World models which we'll get a closer look at later. Anyway, on the left flank is the Dark Talon, Vindicator, Bikes, and some Tactical Marines. And here's the rest of their guys, with the Dreadnought anchoring the center and the Quadlas Predator out on the right flank. 5 Relic Termies are in Deep Strike. Dark Angels win the roll-off and go first. Time for a good scrap, lads. Let's crump some Zog-Numies. I can't really pull off orc speak with this thing.
Disappointing.
In movement, the Dark Talon gets all up in my grill and flies to the center of my deployment zone. The infantry on each flank push forwards, as do the land speeders in the center. Here's another angle, looking across the battlefield from my right flank. In Psychic, he annoyingly gets an aversion off on the Def Dreads, essentially negating their sparkly bits.
How is that fair to me?
In Shooting, he has a bit of a mare, and most of his powerful guns fail to hit their mark. I can't remember what unit these dice are for, but they represent a pretty typical hit roll for the turn. Oh, and here's a closer picture of the Contemptor Dread I took before the battle. Pretty cool, huh? The shooting phase isn't totally ineffective, though, and he does manage to take out the Scrapjet and one of the Def Dreads, leaving the other one on 2 wounds. Yeah, I know it says 4 there, but it lost another 2 afterwards. Cleverly, he also chips away at both units of boys, killing almost half from each one. So Dark Angels scored 2 for engage, and 4 for bring it down, putting them on 6 at the end of their turn 1. So it's my turn and I have no frickin' idea what I'm doing, having never used half of these units before. I figure the boys just want to get stuck in, so they barrel forwards, with the war boss close behind.
Walk with your boys.
Wow, I finally got to use that frickin' clip. On the left flank, the badly wounded Dread stumbles forwards. I only really have the Gretchen left to hold my home objective, but there's no way I trust them to not somehow get obliterated by a stiff breeze, so for redundancy I keep the Painboy back a bit as well. Stupid positioning, really. I'm feeling better about the right flank, though, as the Morkanaut, Blasterjet, and Dragster all head over there, and should be able to establish some Orky dominance quite easily. In Psychic, I try to jump the rightmost unit of boys onto the right objective, but roll the perils. Okay, let's reroll it. Another frickin' perils. Fuck's sake.
That is bollocks.
In Shooting, I managed to take out the Vindicator over on the left flank. The Dragster does most of the work, surprisingly. Unfortunately, I don't have enough firepower left to do much to any of the infantry. Here's a closer look at the Blasterjet, which has to be one of my favorite orc kits. Thanks to some split fire from the jet, I managed to take out one of the land speeders too, so that's something. Charge time.
Does anyone have a charger?
Thanks to advance and charge granted by the war boss, both of my boys' units actually make a charge, the left unit onto the bikes, and the right unit onto a unit of tactical marines. Because the tacticals have a thunderhammer, I go with the right unit first, only killing a couple, though. This is what it looks like at the very end of that combat. The bikers then interrupt, kill a few boys, and use some kind of dastardly Umi trick to fall back out of combat, before the boys can retaliate. Oh great.
What the hell is even that?
At the end of my turn, then, I'm on 7 points, as the Vindicator netted me 3 points. I think even at this stage we can see it's all pretty much gone to shit now though, right? Both of my boys' units are now at quite a low strength, so he should be able to delete them in his turn, stopping me from using Unstoppable Green Tide. I'm then pretty much reliant on my left flank, which can't protect both that and my home objective. Ah well, let's see what happens. In movement, there's just a general milling around of units, with the tactical marines staying in combat on the right, and the dreadnought and librarian heading across to help them out. The tacticals on the left scurry around my plane and grab the left objective. Finally, after a bit of deliberation about where the Terminators should go, he decides to plonk them down to threaten my ill-defended home objective, much to my dismay.
See, now that I don't care for. Right!
Here's a wider shot of the battlefield. You can see the Dark Talon has flown across to the left. That thing is just murderous AF against my boys, with its 24 bolter shots, and the Rift Cannon is no joke either. Psychic sees Mind Worm go off against my rightmost unit of boys. In shooting, I do get pretty lucky with the Dragster, surviving a horrific amount of incoming fire with, at one point, a string of 3 successful invulnerable saves. Lucky Blue gets indeed. It, dies anyway later in the phase, though. Fuck's sake. Elsewhere, however, Dark Angels do even better, cutting down the central unit of boys in a hail of bolter fire, finishing off the last Def Dread, and even picking off my poor undefended weird boy with a landspeeder, cause he had to be in this position in order to be in range for his spell last turn. After casually deleting the Gretchen and shooting, the Terminators then casually make their charge against the Pain Boy, and obviously casually muller him.
That's all normal and good.
Well, at least they're getting a frickin' war boss to the face next turn. Finally, the boys on the right then get wiped out to a man in combat. 5 for primaries, another healthy bring it down tally, and 3 for engage puts Dark Angels on 18 points, then. My turn 2. I deep strike my Mega Dread over on the right flank.
You're entering a world of pain.
It's a custom converted model that was included with the bulk of this Ork army, and it looks pretty frickin' cool. On the left flank, my Morkanaut finishes waddling round the building, and moves menacingly towards the Marines to threaten the objective. The Storm Boys deep strike over here too. My war boss, who mercifully escaped attention last turn, struts over to the Terminators and prepares for a good ol' scrap. I decide that even though he is exceptionally killy, he probably can't handle all 5 Termies on his own, so the Blaster Jet, which has flown up here, diverts its Smash-A-Gun onto them and kills 2. Yeah, Smash-A-Guns are awesome against Dark Angels Termies, because they ignore their silly transhuman stuff. Unfortunately, the good start doesn't set the tone for the rest of my shooting phase, and I think even with the rest of the plane shooting and the Morkanaut I managed to do pretty much nothing else, except take a few wounds off the Landspeeder Vengeance. I have no psychic anymore, so it's on to charges and combat. I use ramming speed with the Mega Dread to make sure it gets in on the Contemptor Dreadnought and Librarian. This big bastard is armed with 2 Dread Ripper Claws, giving it 6 strength 14 attacks which each do d3 plus 3 damage, so it swats the Contemptor aside with, ahem, Contempt.
An attempt at humor, I suppose.
The war boss charges the Terminators, who interrupt after the Mega Dread. I boss my invuln saves, though, only taking a single wound, and then strike back with Righteous Fury, slaying 2 of the Termies. Over here, both the Morkanaut and the Storm Boys make their charge against the Tactical Marines, and it's pretty much a foregone conclusion, with the Marines getting stomped into paste. End of my turn, then, and I go up to 11.
These go to 11.
The lack of primaries this turn kills, and I have a feeling I'm gonna severely feel the lack of board presence next turn too. DA turn 3, and here's the state of the board after movement. Both of us have quite depleted forces, but even though the Morkanaut and Mega Dread combined are pretty expensive, I think DA are looking a lot more healthy. The Dark Talon flies to the top left, a Landspeeder flies down to pick on my war boss, and a fair few Marines crowd round the Mega Dread. Oh, and the pussified Terminator falls back from my raging war boss.
You coward!
In shooting, the Mega Dread proves to be pretty squishy, and dies without too much trouble, although it does manage to explode and kill a nearby Marine. Dark Angels also have enough firepower left over to shoot my blaster jet out of the sky. Well shit. The boss is hard as nails though, and only takes a couple of wounds. Good lad.
No mere weapon can stop me.
These two big targets net them a whopping 6 points for Bring It Down, and combined with the rest of their scores they go up to 39. I just have my war boss and the Morkanaut left now. Pretty sure my Storm Boys got killed by the Dark Talon last turn. The boss squares up to the last Termi, and the Morkanaut peeks around the building to get a view of the enemy vehicles. In shooting, old Morky manages to finally finish off the frickin' Landspeeder Vengeance, so that's something I suppose. The war boss then dispatches the sniveling Terminator with the greatest of ease.
Report that to
The Emperor.
mate.
Well, I at least get 10 points for primaries this turn, and 4 more from secondaries, putting me on 25. With just 2 models, I'm unable to score engage on all fronts. Dark Angels take out my Warlord and Morkanaut next turn, although the boss does me proud with his resilience once again. We then simply cogitate a few steps ahead and work out what Dark Angels can score over their remaining turns. I've marked all the remaining scores in black as I see BA to do it in the right colors. This gives a final tally of 87 to 37 in favor of the Dark Angels. I'm not sure about those extra 2 points for vital ground on my side, but it's the only way I could get my total to make sense. Either way it hardly matters. Okay cool, well I wasn't expecting to do so great with my first proper battle using most of those Ork units, and kind of flapped around ineffectually really. I definitely wasn't expecting to lose both units of boys without them achieving really anything at all, though. That was due to clever target priority by my opponent. Most of all, I just really had a blast using some of the wacky Ork units, and I really like having an army which is less serious than most and which you can kind of use in a straightforward, charge at the enemy and try to crump them, sort of way. Having said that, I obviously have a lot to learn about how to get the most out of Orks, but don't hold your breath for me getting better anytime soon. Oh, excuse me a second, I just have to check this incoming transmission. Holy frickin' shizballs, toughness 5 Orks incoming.
Who's laughing now?
Yeah okay I might get a bit better without even having to do anything then. Noise. Well, that'll do it for another battle rep. If you liked it, please like, comment, subscribe, and all that shiz. If you didn't, then it's a bit weird that you watched this far to be perfectly honest, but you do you. P.S. I have other new armies which I'll hopefully be trying out over the coming weeks and months, so prepare for even more blunders, I guess.
Never expected this, did you?
What are you, nuts?
And holy shiz am I excited for new Thousand Suns. Wow 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 wow.